Well, Timmy?
Yes.
Yes, good. So, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to introduce Mr. Alan McCullough, who's Head of Consumer Finance, and he's going to be giving a presentation that addresses BOV Personal Energy Loan. Okay, the purpose of this presentation is to demonstrate the benefits to borrowers and other stakeholders, to go through the terms and conditions of this energy loan product, which our BOV are, I think, just recently launched, and what would be the eligible products, investments, which consumers, which individuals can utilize this loan for. And I wish that you have an interesting presentation. Towards the end of the presentation, we will have also time for some questions, which I think could clarify certain points which are raised during the presentation. And with this, I would like to hand over to Mr. Alan McCullough.
Okay, so I would like to share the screen first. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and on behalf of Bank of Valletta, welcome for this presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to give an overview of the new product that Bank of Valletta has just recently launched, the BOV Personal Energy Loan. This loan is made in collaboration with the European Investment Fund, EIF, whereby the bank is launching a personal energy loan to assist personal customers to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy projects at their households. So the product is particular and specifically intended for individuals to carry out investments of energy efficiency and renewable energy at their residency. Maybe it's their primary residence or maybe their summer residence. The underlying objective of this facility is to support these personal customers to have readily available access to these investments that they can carry out by making the financing of such investments much more accessible and also affordable, offering a number of investments, offering a number of benefits. What are the benefits for the customer? Basically, through this loan, no collateral or security is required from customer. As you well know, there will be instances where the bank would require some form of collateral in order to grant a lending. But for this particular product, the bank has waived this requirement so as to make it more easy for most of customers to be able to apply for this product. Again, another benefit would be that the customer is not expected to provide any contribution. That is, a full finance of the investment can be obtained from the bank through this loan. And so this, again, makes it easier for the customer because usually we ask for a contribution of 10, 20, or 30% even for home loans or such products. In this case, this is being waived also. To carry out the application, there will be no processing fees, so customers won't pay any fees at all at the outset of the application of the loan. And even if the loan is eventually settled prior to its maturity or the expected term of the loan, the bank will not charge any other fees because the customer decided to settle the loan earlier. So that's another benefit. One of the primary benefits of the personal energy loan is the low interest rate of 2.5. As you might know, even for home loan, the rate is higher. So this is one of the best rates that one can find for any type of product in the local market. And this is a big benefit that will instigate more customers to apply for this product and hence to carry out such investments in these products. And so the loan will be 2.5% for the duration of the loan. This means that we are charging just a small margin of 0.05% over the consumer lending base rate for a final variable rate of 2.5%. Furthermore, the interest rate is subsidized for the first 3 years by a whole 2%. So actually, for the first 3 years of the term of the loan, the customer will only pay the difference, that is 0.5% on the balance of the loan. From after the 3rd year onwards, the customer will continue to pay the interest of 2.5%. So this is a great benefit. The rate is already discounted to 2.5, and there is the additional subsidy for 3 whole years of another 2%, which is removed from the equation for the customer. So from an interest perspective, it will be quite attractive for customers. Another important benefit under this product is that the loan terms, as opposed to what we're used to for other unsecured personal loans, is being extended quite substantially, up to 15 years. Usually we go to 5-7 years mostly, but in this product we have doubled that maximum term, which would mean that the customer will have more feasible repayments, so the monthly repayments will be reduced, and it will encourage customers to either take a bigger loan, or else they will be more easy on repayments. The maximum term of 15 years obviously is subject to the loan amount, so if the loan value is relatively small, 1, 2,000, 3,000, we don't usually go to 15 years because it doesn't make sense. But for the larger amounts, the 15 years capping can be obtained by the customer. Another limitation for the maximum term of 15 years will be what is customer's age, obviously. So if customer is 30 years and he wants a 15-year loan, that's okay, that's no problem. But if customer is, for example, 50 years of age, or 55 years, sorry, and his retirement age is within 10 years, the maximum term cannot exceed the retirement age of the individual, because he's expected to work after retirement age, and that is the time we'll allocate for the maximum term in that particular case. What are the benefits for the retailers or the importers? Basically, given the benefits, the substantial benefits available for customers under the personal loan product, it makes it more affordable for the customers to, and the funds are, the finance is much more accessible. So we estimate that more customers are expected to carry out such investments in energy efficient and renewable energy products, resulting in obviously increased sales for retailers and the importers. So the benefits around the product will encourage more to participate in this kind of market and in these kind of investments. Similarly, due to the benefits available for the customers, the value of the actual products and the investments which will be carried out by the customers should be on the increase. So if, for example, now customer can afford a PV installation of 6 panels, he can carry out a larger installation of 10 or 12 panels, for example, because the long term is longer, the interest rate is reduced, and there are the subsidy on the interest rate. So this will encourage him to invest even more in such products. Another important benefit for the retailers, they can still obtain deposits from the customer as like a deposit prior to affecting the order and so on. But obviously there's some limitation because of the EIF regulations on this. So actually the deposits have to be carried out after the customer has obtained the financing under this product. These benefits, both for the customer and eventually for the retailer, are derived from the establishment of a fund of funds, the EERE Malta Fund, it's called, which is co-financed by the Republic of Malta and the European Union under the European Regional Development Fund, ERDF, through an operational agreement which has been signed a few weeks ago by the bank and the European Investment Fund. The letter will provide an interest rate subsidy of 2%, as we mentioned. This will be paid by EIF during the first 3 years of the loan, from the disbursement of the loan. Plus, the EIF will provide some sort of guarantee for the bank so that it will be able to leverage the bank finance to eligible customers, and also has helped the bank to allow a discounted interest rate and more benefits like no fees and longer term to be provided to the customer. Let's have a look now at the some eligibility criteria as regards to the customer. What type of customer can apply? We already mentioned that it has to be an individual customer, and he has to be working in Malta and having taxable income derived from Malta. So most probably he would be a Maltese citizen residing in Malta, working in Malta, and paying tax in Malta. There are obviously, because of the EU regulations, we must also include in this cohort also other EU members and EEA member states individuals who have obtained permanent residence in Malta or living in Malta, and even third country nationals who have been granted long-term residency status in Malta. So as long as they have obtained residency long-term in Malta or living in Malta like all Maltese residents, and they are working locally and paying the tax locally, they will be eligible customers. Obviously, besides this criteria, there are also the usual criteria of the bank. So normal bank lending criteria and the credit policy conditions are still to be met. So if customer does not have sufficient income to sustain the loan repayments, obviously he cannot, he is not eligible for the loan. Or if that particular customer has a bad credit history with local institutions, he cannot apply because it will be a non-starter because of his bad history. Other criteria which are established by the EIF that limit the type of transactions that go through these loans. So why this loan can be used for, what purpose it can be used for. These are some loan transaction criteria that we must follow. First of all, the loan disbursement, the loan drawdowns cannot relate to purchases or services already completed prior to loan application stage. So these have to be future investments. So the customer has to apply for the loan, obtain the lending, and then the work is carried out, and eventually the drawdown is effected. Similarly, the loan transactions must not relate to payments already made by customer to retailer, so something in the past. And also, it cannot relate to payments to finance any existing loans. So if a customer has took out a loan, a personal loan, an eco loan, it would be OV or another institution 6 months ago to effect an investment in energy efficient product, for example, he cannot now refinance that loan through this new product because it has been already carried out, the investment in the past, and the EIF does not allow that kind of moving around with loans in order to benefit from EU funds, obviously. Another limitation is that the loan transaction must not relate to any portion of the purchase price which the customer will obtain from a sort of grant from the government of Malta or from any other EU entity. As you might know, for example, in the case of PV panels, for example, there is the grant of 3,000 euros. That portion of the grant cannot be financed by this product, because otherwise it would be double financing from EU funds, and obviously the EU does not allow that. So in such cases, instead of not financing anything in these cases, we will be financing the difference between the total investment amount. So let's say if the PV system is 10,000 euros in total as a cost, and the customer will obtain a grant of 3,000, that the bank finance through this product will be for the difference between 10 and 3,000 of the grant. So it will be, we will finance 7,000 at max. Obviously, the quotation has to be reflect this that the investment is for 10,000. There is the grant of 3,000, and the remaining amount of 7,000 that will be financed through the loan. Loan transactions must be against invoices dated after sanction letter. This is similar to above. So anything that has to be financed through this loan has to be future, after the loan application and the sanction letter has been provided to our customer. Another important aspect of the loan and the limitation is that only loan purposes that are predefined by the EIF, and we'll go through this list later on. These are mentioned like under the header of standardized measures. Only these kind of purposes can be included under this type of loan. So anything else cannot be financed by this product, but obviously the bank may consider other products like the normal personal loan or the eco loan for other purposes not stipulated in the standardized measures as listed by the EIF. Obviously, the loan disbursements have to be in line with the sanction letter that the bank gives out, and also there is the final limitation that all drawdowns must be carried out under this product by the end of December 2023. So the EIF has established that the last date that any disbursements from loans from this product can only be affected by the 31st December 2023. So this gives us 3 years in which time loans can be taken out, investment carried out, and disbursement issued to pay those investments. Obviously, the customer taking out a personal loan, personal energy loan this week, for example, he will not be allowed to draw down up to 2023, but there are the usual limitations that within the first 6 months, the investment is carried out and paid, and the loan is utilized by 6 months. If there is some need that the project for some thing or other has delayed a bit and the customer needs to extend those 6 months by which to affect the loan drawdown, the customer can apply to the bank, and usually we grant another small extension of say 2 months to give customer the chance to utilize the loan once the investment has been carried out. But the 2023 capping is also because any loans, for example, that are sanctioned in say November 2023, they will only have say 2 months time, in which time they can withdraw from the loan. So that's why the capping of the December 2023 date. Okay, so now we'll go a bit through what the terms and conditions of the loan, the personal energy loan facility are. This mostly interests the customer, but as retailers, you might be good to know what these basic terms and conditions are, so that if the customer asks a question you can answer, it will be good and it will help you in the selling process yourself, and also to show them that it's a relatively simple process to follow. As regard to the purpose, we already said that it will be to finance the purchase of products or services that generate energy efficiency or renewable energy, subject to the standardized list of measures, which we'll go through later on in a couple of slides. The maximum loan amount has been established as 50,000. Obviously, it depends on how customer can pay that loan. So 50,000 is the capping. If a customer has a low income, he will obviously benefit from lower amount of loan, as is normal criteria. So, but the maximum that can be taken under this product with all these benefits will be 50,000. And the loan has to be in euro. We mentioned already about the contribution, that this is not mandatory, so full finance can be provided. The only exception being in case where the customer is taking out the grant from EU or government funds. The interest rates, already mentioned this, it will be throughout the loan of 2.5%, but during the first 3 years, the customer will only pay 0.5%, 0.5% interest rate during the first 3 years, and then thereafter, he will pay 2.5% for the full duration of the loan. As regards to fees, no processing fees will be levied when the personal loan is sanctioned, and even no early repayment fees if the customer decides to settle the loan prior to the agreed term of the loan. There is a small commitment fee of 0.25% per annum after 2 months if the loan is not withdrawn, disbursed by the customer within 2 months. This is a standard fee that the bank levies. It is a petty fee, especially for small amounts of loans, but it is there more to as disincentive for the customer, so that they speedily carry out their investments that they need to carry out, and they settle the retailer as soon as possible, so that no unutilized funds are at the bank. They're waiting for the customer, and he doesn't care when he withdraws or not. So this is just to make it to instigate the customer to go ahead with what he has planned to carry out the investment, to settle the payment to the retailer within a relatively short period of time. The term of the loan, as already stated, is a maximum of 15 years, and it is relative to the loan amount and to customers' retirement age, as already explained. The loan repayments will be monthly, covering the capital and interest. Obviously, during the first 3 years, the subsidy, the first 3 years where there will be the subsidy interest period, the element of interest that will be payable by customer will be just 0.5%, given that the remaining 2% is settled directly by the EIF. As security collateral, the bank cannot request any collateral from customer. In fact, this is a limitation imposed on us by the EIF, so as to make the type of loan more accessible to more people. As regards to disbursements, these are to be affected by the bank directly to the retailer, service provider, against the provision of formal invoice by the retailer, through the customer, obviously. And no disbursements are allowed beyond the 31st December 2023. As regards to documentation, we go through a bit the quotation and invoice, which relates a bit obviously to the retailers, because they have to provide these two documents. These are very important documents that are required for the loan application stage, and eventually even for audit purposes of the EIF, because here we have EU funds involved, and obviously they do check and carry out their audits regularly, as you might know from other schemes that you have benefits from in the past. And so the documentation is very important to be up to scratch and to include full details as much as possible. Basically, the quotation that is to be provided by the retailer to customer prior to loan application stage should include the obvious things, that it should be on the letterhead and include full name and address of the retailer. And it should also include the specifications and typical energy generation or any savings of the investment being made by customers. So if it is PV panels, for example, the number of units involved, the output that should be generated from the system, and the benefits involved. For example, if it is glazing, the number of windows or doors that are involved, the square meterage and the benefits one would expect from such investment, and so on. The quotation should also include details of the retailer's bank account number, which will eventually be credited with the payments from the loan on behalf of the customer once the invoice is eventually submitted. The invoice is to include the same information as the quotation, all these details as much as possible, and this is provided obviously by the retailer once the works have been carried out and the amount is actually due by the customer. So after the loan application, the work is carried out, the invoice is provided, and the disbursement is carried out by the bank on behalf of customer directly to customers, to retailers' accounts. We mentioned the standardized measures. So this is the list that EIF has provided as guidance of the investment types that may be included under this type of product, the BOV personal energy product. Basically, the standardized measures are split up under three main categories. The first one is related to investments related to the building envelope, so to the exterior generally of the building, of the residency of the customer. There are three specific investment types under this category. The first one is insulation, under the insulation of the building, external insulation, that is products for the application of the insulation to the building exterior. The second purpose is the windows and doors. So basically here we're talking about double glazing and sealants of the apertures that we have in our buildings. And the third item is other building envelope related measures that will impact the thermal and efficiency performance of the building. Usually this is related to external shading devices and other solar control systems and passive systems. The second category of standardized measures are investments related to the building system. And here we have 9 different investment types, which can be financed through this loan. The first one is space heating, how you can heat and the internal of your household. So it is heat generation, distribution, and dispersion within the building. The second is similar, but it's related more to the domestic hot water generation, distribution, and delivery. Then we have the ventilation system, where these are investments relating to heat generation and recovery equipment, the distribution of this heat and the dispersion. Fourth type of investment is cooling, generation, distribution, and dispersion. There are obviously the fine purposes there, circuit valves, distribution controls, and it depends on the type of investment. Under the same category, then we have the lighting investments, which relate to efficient light systems. We also have the building and energy management systems. And also the seventh item investment type is connection to energy supplies. These are investments which related to the connection to the energy grid or storage facilities. These are relatively the most common type of investment we have. These are the PV systems and energy storage systems. Another investment type is integrated renewable energy investment. That is energy from renewable sources installed within the building site. For example, you might have panels that generate energy from that renewable source from the sun, so as to heat the water of the swimming pool, for example. The last investment type is the charging station for electric vehicles. Those of us who have electric vehicles need sometimes to carry out to set up a charging station at their premises, so that they are more comfortable and it is more practical for them to charge their electric vehicles. And so this purpose is eligible also under this product. Obviously, here we're talking only about the charging station. So the investment to purchase the equipment and the wiring and to carry out the installation as is in the garage. But obviously, it does not cover the purchase of the electric vehicle itself, because that is outside the scope of this the standardized measures that EIF has allowed us. Obviously, the electric vehicles can be financed by the BOV Ecolon, then, which is also a very attractive product and has good benefits also, but separate from this one. The third and final standard and measure category is all those investments that relate to renewable energies not connected to buildings. So typically, these are not very common as yet in Malta, but these relate to PV farms, for example, that are operated and individuals can participate in such schemes. So this is basically the last type of investment allowed under the standardized measures. Now that we've gone through all the list of the investment types, we are going through what customer documentation is to be provided, because sometimes customers might ask you, and it's good that you have an idea of what is the basic documentation required. These are not much, but obviously there is the ID card that has to evidence that customer is residing in Malta, so he's a Maltese or he is an EU national residing in Malta, so the ID has to show his residency locally here. Obviously, because we need to know what the level of income the customer has, so we can confirm what amount of repayment the customer is eligible for and what loan amount is eligible for. So the evidence of income normally comes in the form of the FS3, last FS3 of the customer, if he is employed, and his last 3 pay slips. Or in case this is a self-employed, he has to provide the bank with the usual P&L account together with the Inland Revenue income and self-assessment form, which he has submitted in the last 3 years. This documentation of the income also are to be used by the bank to confirm that actually the fiscal tax residency of the customer is Maltese, as one of the criteria wants us to be. As regards to the quotation, as we said already, it has to evidence full details of the retailer, include all comprehensive details, and breakdown of the goods and services which are being provided to the customer in line with the allowable investment types, and which will eventually be financed by the loan. So in this case, for example, when we say a breakdown of the goods and services, if, for example, it will be a PV system, it will describe the number of units of the panels and its output and so on. But if the customer also wants to carry out investment in glazing, it can be included. If the same retailer is providing, it can be included in the same quotation, but under different details, obviously. Both investment types must be described in detail in the quotation. Other kind of documentation which the bank usually requests when evaluating loan applications is to request other bank statement from the customer in case where the customer is banking with other than BOV. So if the customer only has the loans with BOV, no other documentation is required. But if that customer has lending with other financial institutions or with hire purchase companies, we normally request customer to provide the statement so that we can go through the statement to verify that all is in order, the level of commitment that customer has with other institutions, and that these facilities are being repaid regularly. So we're arriving at the end now. What are the important reminders to encapsulate what we have gone through here? One of the most important thing, even for you, is what are the selling points of this product. So the customer will reap several savings from the investment, which will be financed through the BOV personal and leisure loan. One of which will be that loan repayments will be relatively easy to meet due to low interest, and also due to the fact that the loan term can be extended for a longer period of 15 years. This will make the repayments more accessible to a wider range of people, and will therefore be a great benefit for the customer. Also, we mentioned the benefits that no security is required from the customer, and full finance can be provided, so no contribution is necessary unless there is the grant element. So all these make the loan more feasible, accessible for the customers, and so more people will come forward to carry out such investments. We also mentioned that the loan cannot be used to finance investments that are not listed in the list of standardized measures. This is important. We cannot have another type of, for maybe related item, but not exactly listed in the EIF standardized measures list. We cannot put it there. It's not in our discretion, or it will disrupt the scheme, and we cannot accept, obviously, other purposes which are not allowed. We also mentioned that the loan cannot be used to finance any portion of the purchase price which the customer is obtaining as a form of grant from the government or EU. So these also, we don't have any discretion. So if there is the grant amount, it has to be removed from the amount that can be financed through the loan. And we also mentioned that the loan cannot be used to finance invoices dated before the sanction letter of the loan. So it cannot finance anything that is past. The loan will finance only future dated investments. Some final considerations. As I mentioned earlier, in view that this product is being supported through the European Union, it is important that loans granted under this product are strictly opened and operated in line with the above terms and conditions, and also in line with the requested documentation and the professionality in the documentations provided from the retailers to the customers, and upon which the EIF will carry out audits regularly. In fact, the bank has onerous reporting requirements and deadlines with EIF, and there are data audits that are carried out regularly. Failure to comply would obviously result in exclusions from the portfolio, and with relative consequence of forfeiting the interest subsidy for the customer and impinging a bad negative implications for the bank, for the retailers, and for the country in general. As you know, in these EU-associated schemes, which we need to run professionally according to the rules and have the full documentation in place. For the same reason, the retailers need to provide comprehensive and detailed quotations, invoices to their customers, who are then to forward them to the bank to carry out to apply for the loan itself. Okay, so that's the end from me, and I would like to invite you for any questions. Please feel free. Sorry, I'm not hearing.
Okay.
That's
Thank
okay
you.
now.
Thank you, Alan, for the very interesting presentation. I think for those participants, you can post questions on the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen on Zoom, for those of you who are not familiar with it. I have some questions I would like to ask Alan till any further questions come in. Is it okay, Alan? Can I proceed with the questions?
Yes, you can proceed with the questions.
Okay. Just to clarify some points as the questions are coming in. For measures related, for instance, to air conditioning, which could be cooling and heating of domestic premises, what criteria? I mean, if someone has old systems and which have now there are systems with much higher efficiencies. How can this? How do you assess this? Is it an acceptable investment?
Yes, it's part of the cooling systems we have in our houses. So if you have an old system and you're doing away with it, and you're investing in new technology that is energy efficient and what's not, then it is part of the cooling system investment type we have mentioned. So this is one of the reasons of the
it is eligible. It is eligible.
Yes. Obviously, we should try to avoid applications for €600 loans. So
okay, they have to be a substantial
we try to avoid
sum.
this. But if someone has three units and he's spending €4,000,
okay,
and even from the retailer's point of view, maybe you can encourage the customers to upgrade instead of the smaller ones.
So this covers upgrading of facilities, like you mentioned. What about if someone is building a house or putting in an apartment, and he wants to put in, we use air conditioning as an example. It could be solar water heating, or does this cover this kind of investment? Although it's a new premises.
Yes, there is no distinction between new and old. So it is catering for both existing premises that have old equipment that needs to be replaced, and there is also the new homes that are being built and units that the owners are carrying out this kind of energy efficiency and renewable energy investment in it. So in both cases, as long as the investment type is listed in that list, it can be carried out. I would also like to mention that the bank, over and above the personal energy loan, in the coming months, shortly, it will also provide home loan related energy loan, which would probably cater for higher amounts. It could have a different interest rate, maybe it will be even finer, but it could also require some form of collateral like all home loans do. So to be aware, the bank is also embarking on the next product besides the personal product, which will cover the more substantial investments. In both cases, both the personal energy loan and in future the home energy loan, they relate to investments carried out by individuals in their own residence or maybe their second home. So in a residence, it is used by the customer himself and is not used for business. For example, it cannot be rented out and you make a business from that. So anything that the individual, the scope of this scheme and the benefits that the EIF is providing is to assist the individuals to make these investments in the premises, the property they own, and they live and enjoy themselves individually, not as a business concern.
Thank you, Alan.
So there is the personal loan and the home loan eventually. Then, as a third product, also of interest to your chamber and your members, is that the bank intends to provide also funding under this same scheme for SMEs. So it will be more business related
this
and
was
outside
one of the
personal.
questions we had. This was one of the questions we have, which you're basically answering now. So the bank is planning for similar funds for businesses in the future as well, for SMEs.
Yes, in fact, the bank has already obtained a bucket of funds.
Okay.
It is apportioning a part of it for personal loan product. Okay. The next product coming in will be the home loan related, and the third one will be the SME.
Can you give us an idea of the timeline on these?
The intention is that the next in line is the home loan product, which we estimate in a couple of months at most. So, and the SME, it will come later, 6 months time span. The
second half of the year.
Yes.
Roughly.
It depends on other projects and and the success of the scheme also.
Would they similarly? I'm referring to one of the questions we have here. Would they similarly cover investments, for instance, in group solar farms, for instance? Would they be of similar?
That would be the SME type of loan, and we don't have as yet the set parameters there. But I expect that most of these cases will be included in that. There will be criteria which are not already known at this moment. So we cannot state what will happen exactly, but ahead there will be funds available, and there will be subsidized interest rates and great benefits even for the SMEs. Which do not relate to an individual house that we live in.
But commercial or premise.
Yes, it's in the pipeline. It's one of the expected purposes of this funding, which we have obtained from the EIF.
Okay, very good. Another question. We have an attendee who's asking, what will be the best process to forward customers to obtain a BOV loan? So would the retailer put them in contact, or where would a customer who has a potential need for this loan, how would he go about obtaining the loan?
Well, the bank has already started an intensive marketing campaign through the electronic media and other media, eventually in the coming weeks also. Whereby the customer, the public in general, will be aware about this new product, and we are doing this campaign, a strong campaign to instill this interest in our products and to encourage customers to come forward and start speaking to their retailers about what they can invest and what they want and not. So there is that marketing campaign available. The bank's website is already updated with the product features, full product features, and there are the full benefits there, and so customers can be channeled to go through the fine detail over there. So it's another source, and obviously there will be the customers that come straight away to the retailer as usual, and they say that we heard about the Bank of Valletta loan, and what do you know about it? How do you know about it? So the retailer can then give an information that he has acquired up till now about the product and try to assist the customer as much as possible. And also refer him to either the bank's website or the customer service center of the bank, or to his branch of preference of the customer.
So the branches, when obviously the situation improves with regards to COVID, but they will also be available from the branches, not a specific office of BOV.
No. It will be the distribution channels will be the branch. Irrespective of the COVID, we still
have some branches
receive customers. So all they have to do is to phone, and they are given an appointment, and we have various loan meetings with customers already for other products, and this will be the same procedure. So the customer ideally is requested to call the call center or his branch of preference directly, fix an appointment, and he is given the appointment to carry out this interview, and brings forward his any documentation that we need. So from if the retailer already can provide the quotation, that will be a very good start, in fact, for the application, because without the quotation from the retailer,
you cannot obviously.
You cannot know what is the amount, the purpose, and so on.
Another question, which actually two questions, but they are related. One of our attendees is asking, can a customer apply for 2 or more different measures, for example, air conditioning and double glazing and PVs, for instance, under this loan? I think you mentioned if they come from the same retailer. What if they come from different retailers?
Yes, so the only limitation that there is the €50,000 capping, or what the customer can take as a loan. So if he is eligible for the capping. So
the customer can come with for instance, 5 different quotations for different types of equipment from different retailers, and they can all be covered under the same scheme, the same loan arrangement.
If he is doing the project as one whole, ideally he will obtain the quotations from the different retailers and present them as one lot to the bank.
Okay.
The bank will then assess whether he's eligible for the loan amount he is requesting, and that the capping of the 50,000 is not being exceeded.
Exceeded, obviously, yes. And you mentioned earlier that it has to be at the residence, the residence of or the second house. So could the investment be spread over more than one property, as long as they are residential properties, not being used for rental or business, if I understood correctly?
Yes, you understood correctly. So it can be the first, the primary residence and also the summer residence, as long as the customer is using those premises. Is not making any business out of it, because the customer then has to sign on the sanction letter a clause that he's certifying that the premises are used by him and not for business purposes or to generate a business income. So we have to
you have to be careful, yes.
Be careful, so to avoid impinging any negative clouds around us.
An interesting question here. Someone is asking whether the loan would finance also roof gardens. Now, roof gardens, apart from the aesthetic and the pleasure of a roof garden, it also has insulation properties. Would this be covered under insulation?
Yeah, we have queried this with the IAF, because insulation is there available. So anything you do prior to putting the garden, most of it is insulation costs. So you have to take care of the roof and put the insulation material there, the service and the cost all involved there. And there is also the additional view, put shrubs, it will bring about some shading, and it will enhance the insulation of the roof. So what our understanding is from feedback we have received from EIF upon our queries was that yes, but obviously we have to be proportionate. So if the project costs €10,000 and €8,000 are to buy special trees and €1,000 just to make the insulation, it's not on. It should be the other way around. So the bulk of the project would be to carry out the insulation and material and pay the labor for that work. And then if there are small amounts of trees and shrubs that will further enhance that insulation and that investment, they might be considered favorably to be included also. But the bulk has to be for the insulation, so not to go to rock the boat.
Okay, no, it's understandable. No, it's very interesting. I believe we have exhausted all the questions here. I'm going to leave a couple of minutes. Maybe someone wants to add another question. I think that on the whole, as mentioned earlier, I'm an engineer. We are involved I am the chairman of the Energy and Efficiency subcommittee of the Chamber. So these things are of big interest to us. I'm glad to hear that in the future they will also be available for commercial premises and possibly industrial premises as well for SMEs. There's a big drive not only from the EU but even locally, and our viewpoint is that it is not just a question of, it's a question of creating a sustainable and pleasant environment for ourselves in the future and for our children, because they stand to benefit from a more environmental friendly and energy efficient economy. So I'm just checking if there are any further questions. Yes. So I have a question. If a client is interested in glazing and solar panels, can they separate the PVs and have them on an eco loan to benefit from zero interest?
Yes, as some retailers might be aware of, the bank has other eco loan products and a special scheme whereby some retailers associated with particular members of particular associations, they are participating in a special scheme with the bank where an eco loan is provided and the retailer is paying the interest for the customer. So that is another product that the bank will retain. Obviously, the bank will promote more this new product because it's more of benefit to the customers in general, and it covers even more widespread investment
So
types.
the customer can split. He can get his glazing
Yes.
on, but if he wants, he can also.
It's his decision. It's his decision as long as the retailer agrees that, for example, the PV pen is financed through the eco loan, and the glazing, for example, is financed through the new personal energy loan. That's okay for us. So the customer will come, two different quotations. One will be used for the eco special scheme, and the other one will be used for the new product.
Okay. Final question, which is quite interesting. You may or may not know that every building is going to eventually have an energy performance certificate. It's currently being done on domestic and commercial buildings, which are being sold or rented. But eventually, every building will have an energy performance certificate. Is there any relationship between the loan and this energy performance certificate? You may or may not know that in the energy performance certificate, there are also recommendations for energy improvements. Do you relate to this energy performance certificate? Or
no, it's something we are aware of, obviously, about, and but it is not related to our scheme or anything. No interaction. Obviously, the purpose of the BOV personal energy loan and for similar products that the bank has is to instigate more interest in such products. As you said, it is important that we improve our environment and take care of it for us and for our children. So otherwise, there's no correlation with it.
Okay, thank you, Alan, for a very interesting presentation. I think we have exhausted all the questions here. Timmy, do you want to close off at this point? I'm going to pass over to you.
Sure, no problem. First of all, thanks to both of you on behalf of the Chamber. It was a very interesting presentation, and I think you did a great job moderating as well. Patrick, you managed to get all the questions. I'd just like to make everybody aware that on the 18th of February, the Chamber is also organizing an event on Brexit called Deciphering Brexit. You can find it on our website. If you're interested, just register there. Otherwise, thank you. The work of the Energy Committee will continue, and we'll be developing a number of policies which we hope will be in the public domain by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.